Today we're talking about how to manage wedding planning when shit happens. Now we could argue that the most lifeiest of all life is happening right now due to the very viral situation, but these tips actually pertain to all major life events that could be going on, or just anything that is slowing you down. It could be a family member that's sick, it could be just a lot of pressure at work, it could be struggling with your mental health, anything that requires you to either take a break or slow down or could affect your wedding planning in some way. I'm someone who's been through many major life events whilst I was building my wedding planning career, and so these tips have really helped me in maintaining my wedding planning service or how to take a break. But before we jump in, please subscribe to this channel for more destination wedding tips every single week. And let's jump in. The first tip is to get ahead. Now, most people imagine wedding planning as kind of like a race, like a sprint to the finish line, very linear. But in actual fact, if you're planning for a fair amount of time, so a year, 18 months, that kind of thing, then wedding planning is more like canoeing down a stream. When the current picks up and the water gets faster, then you sprint ahead. And when the water is calmer, you kind of meander around those corners very slowly. Wedding planning is much more like that. You have some moments where you're getting lots of stuff done and you're really, really on it. And then you've got some moments that there's not so much to do. This is how I try to be as consistent as possible when life is going on. I try to get ahead of every single aspect of all of my life so that if and when something happens, my mental health takes a turn or some sort of life event happens, then I can take a break without actually hurting any of the projects that I've got going on. I try to impart this advice on all of my wedding planning clients, and when we have the opportunity to go forth and just keep running, then we do. And when those moments of lull come, then we already know that a lot has been done, a lot has been sorted. So if the opportunity presents itself to sprint ahead, then do. Now, sprinting ahead can be a little bit challenging in the current times because a lot of wedding suppliers, for example, are very, very busy or taking breaks in their own business, etc. But there are lots of things that you can be sprinting ahead with that do not require any input from your venue or suppliers or planner or anyone really. Last week, I published a video about 4 fun wedding planning activities that you can do when you're bored, and those are things that you can be getting on with at any time. In the link in the description, you'll also find the blog that accompanies this video, and there are tons of ideas in there also as to things that you can sprint ahead with that are not dependent on your suppliers. The second tip to managing your wedding planning when happens is to let your suppliers know. Now, of course, you don't need to tell your suppliers anything that you're not comfortable with them knowing. So for example, if one of your family members is very sick and things are not looking very good, then you might not want to go into detail with telling your venue coordinator that information. But if you don't tell them something, then you're much more likely to be pestered by them for any sort of information that is outstanding because they just simply don't know what's going on. You don't even need to contact people specifically. You can send an email out to all of your suppliers and say, hello, sorry, we're going to take a couple of weeks off because of X, Y, and Z. We will be back and wedding planning after this date, for example. Or you can just put an out of office on and not contact anyone directly at all. Your wedding suppliers want to help you. They want you to have the best wedding possible. So if taking a break is going to facilitate that, then just let us know. Third tip, remember a couple of days or even weeks won't hurt you. I am the absolute worst at this. All of my friends will tell you that I would much rather work on my sick bed if I was absolutely dying than take even one day off. But there comes a point in every wedding planner's life where they realize that not everything is urgent. If you can pick it up tomorrow instead of today because you're just not feeling it, it literally doesn't hurt you at all. 2 days won't hurt you. Waiting until after weekend won't hurt you. Sometimes a whole week won't hurt you. Sometimes a whole month won't hurt you. It just really depends on what specifically you're working on at the time. I only really advise taking a decent break if you've got the big suppliers already locked in. So your venue, for example, is a really big one. You need to make sure that you have a venue locked in, particularly if you're getting married in 2021. If you're also having a weekend date, then you'll want to get the entire big supplier roster in. So your DJ or entertainment providers, your venue, and your photographers. Florists could also be counted here too. Those should be booked at 12 months or at the very latest 9 months ahead. But if you're past that point and you've got most of your major suppliers in and you just need a couple of days, a week, just not on your email, just not bothered about wedding planning because life is happening for you right now, then take that time. Honestly, it really doesn't matter that much. The fourth tip is if it feels good, lean in. Hear me out here. I'm not part of the productivity propaganda. I do think that you should take time off if you are feeling that way. But this tip came about when one of my brides last year, her father was extremely sick, and I proposed that we take some time out. I will keep things running for their wedding planning. There's no big deal. There was nothing pressing at the time. They didn't need to make any decisions. And actually her response was that wedding planning was the highlight of her week, that she didn't want me to take away the emails that she was getting from me because they made her so happy just to imagine what her wedding could be like. And that is true for some people. For some people, wedding planning really is a solace. It really does feel like a creative outlet. It's really nice to imagine how your dream day is going to be, to think about the weather, to think about the colors, to think about the flowers and the music and the food and the drink, all of those wonderful things that makes you happy, and it helps you to get through whatever life event is actually happening for you right now. And I don't advise using wedding planning as a crux to evade any processing that you need to do. You shouldn't be using it as a huge distraction from actually working through whatever life event is happening. If it feels good and if it is giving you something to look forward to, then I am all for you leaning in. The fifth and final tip is, if necessary, take a longer break. Sometimes what's happening to you is just too painful to bear. You've lost a loved one, you've lost your job, your mental health is just not in a fit state to be able to do anything creative or productive. Wedding planning is just not going to happen in these sorts of times. You need to take a longer break. Now, this completely depends on exactly when your wedding is going to be. I'd say that if your wedding is a year away, then a couple of months won't hurt you. If it's 6 months away, 6 weeks won't hurt you. If it's 4 months away, 3 to 4 weeks maximum won't hurt you. And if it's 3 months away or less, then I think maximum you can only take about 2 weeks out, or consider postponing. I've done an entire video on using a really good tool to postpone your wedding if it's necessary, because above all else, you need to be in the right mindset and have the right environment around you to have an amazing wedding. Suffered a bereavement or a job loss or something just unbearable and your wedding is 1 month away, if it's too much for you and you won't enjoy that wedding day, then seriously consider postponing. And those are my 5 tips on how to manage your wedding planning when life happens. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that above all you are safe and well at the moment. Please subscribe for more destination wedding planning tips every single week. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.